Well, everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the iPhone XR and see how this particular iPhone holds up in the middle part of 2024. Now, the first thing I will definitely tell you is that the iPhone 14 is the first thing I'll definitely tell you is that the iPhone XR is still an interesting iPhone. We really don't know what the future of this iPhone holds up though, but I've already talked about this iPhone to length throughout this whole entire year. But if you want to pick it up, links will be down in the description. You can get it from there and you can help support the channel at the exact same time. Now, with the outside of the iPhone XR, nothing has changed. It's still exactly the same type of phone it was before. You're still maintaining a 6.1-inch Retina IPS panel on the front. It's still a very good looking panel. There's not really that much to hate on here, and I definitely do feel like if you're buying, any iPhone, it's an IPS panel, so it's more or less what you'd expect. It's not the best looking thing of all time, but it gets the job done, and I think it's like an okay panel at the best, in this day and age. You're still getting the notch, lightning port at the bottom, glass back with a single camera setup. You're still getting things like wireless charging, IP certification, and stuff like that. But as I mentioned, as you probably would know, this is not that great of a performing phone anymore in terms of the exterior, but it doesn't really feel that bad either. And I do feel like in this day and age, it could definitely have been worse. And I definitely do think this phone, for the most part on the exterior, it doesn't hold that well up against something like an iPhone 15 or anything. But I don't think it's like a terrible device either, if that makes sense. So from that side on the exterior, it's not that bad. From the camera side, we've already hit on this so many times before, but I do want to hit on the software, which is going to be one of the bigger changes that's going to end up happening. So for the middle part of 2024, we're going to be getting a lot of movement. This phone is either getting iOS 18 or it's not getting iOS 18. And I wanted to make my assumptions before this version of software comes out because, throughout the first part of this year, it's held up fairly well on iOS 17. It's gotten a ton of updates within iOS 17, lots of new improvements, a few feature sets here and there, but for the most part, it's just been improving and stabilizing the iPhone that came out before. So I think it's a decent performing device when it comes down to it in a lot of different ways, but it definitely is not the best performing one, if that makes any sense, if that kind of covers it up there. But if this gets iOS 18, that's going to be amazing. There's lots of cool features built within iOS 18, and I think this in and of itself is going to be a very, very cool thing, and I'm very much looking forward to it. It's not really going to be the best performing device of all time on iOS 18, and if it does get that support, it's going to be the oldest supported iPhone on that version of software, which is going to be pretty crazy. So we're going to, keep our eyes peeled on it. We'll see what happens. But for the most part, from a software perspective, it's probably going to get iOS 18 or it probably won't. It's like a 50% chance, but we'll keep you updated. And whenever it does come out, we'll go ahead and review it completely like I've been doing for the last 6 years. In terms of performance, this thing is still giving you that Apple A12 Bionic chip inside of it with 3 GB of RAM. And as I mentioned before, it's not the most amount of RAM to have inside of a device, but it definitely isn't terrible either. And I do think if you're going to go through and get a certain device, this thing really isn't that bad of a performing device from that perspective either. I think if you're getting a phone like this, it's not terrible, but it is a slow and old performing iPhone. So that's one thing you have to kind of keep in mind, that if you're planning on buying an iPhone like this, it's going to be a device that isn't necessarily going to be holding up the best from that particular perspective. So it's going to be okay, it's going to be getting the job done here and there, but for an everyday basis, you're probably not going to be having a phone where you're going to pick it up and be shocked by the performance. It's going to be a very, very basic type of performing device, and I think that's kind of the best way to kind of describe it if I'm being honest. So to kind of sum up the iPhone XR in the middle part of 2024, this iPhone is definitely doing a good job. It's an old iPhone, it's 6 years old, and the fact that it's still performing at this level is actually pretty impressive. But keep in mind, this phone's not going to be lasting forever, and it is a pretty basic device when it comes down to it in this day and age. It's less than a budget phone. It's one of those devices that doesn't really make a lot of sense to go and buy, in my personal opinion. So from that particular perspective, that kind of covers it up there. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that will mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.